100% trade.
Mm-hmm.
You get into the trade and you're up almost immediately. Like if you catch the right entry, then like you're not going to be put into a position where you're down like 60%, right? Or like I don't know, crazy. They're not going to like wake you out right away usually if you're making a smart trade. Like
Yeah.
you're almost, for me, like I'm almost immediately up, and then I'm like, okay, there it goes. Like 10 minutes later, I'm out. So, anyways, I don't know if people are listening,
It's
but that's just the mistake I've made over and over again. Just
I was kind of like,
yeah.
I was, at the time I was reading your things. I was in the middle. I was playing some Call of Duty, right? And I kind of was laughing. I was like, the funny thing is like it's the perception of everything, right? And it was like, man, because on one side it's like, um, a lot of times we look at it like impulsive gambling, right? And I was like, life is gambling. Like everything we do, it doesn't really, it's just discipline in certain things. Especially you certain things you do, it's just it pushes envelopes, right? And I was like watching it, and you were like, man, I blew the whole bag again. And I'm like, I was looking at it like he built this. Here he goes again with $50 to 800, and which is crazy. And then it's like you get this one trade and it's like all on the line. And I was like, the problem is he's just a bad player. I was like, he makes those judgment calls. His strategy,
I gotta take it. I have to take it out,
yeah, you got to.
or
But
else I'm like too like, or I mean, like rave. Like I knew I could catch like. I know. But anyways,
and it ended up being
it's
a
like I know
massive.
exactly what I'm like. I have I don't know. I built the bag up to like almost 2 grand. Then I'm like, okay, this time I'm not gonna do it. And then I make one bad trade, and then yeah, I mean, it's the exact same thing. And that's where I start to just doubt that I even have the willpower to like, which I have to accept that I pretty much don't. At least right now,
Yeah,
like if I get to 1,000, I'm taking out 800.
yeah, you got to start over.
That has to be my thing.
And you,
Like, unfortunately,
and
like even though I'd like to make bigger and bigger trades, like there's just a mental block of like this is the amount of money I make in a normal week of like work. Like
yeah,
I gotta take it out.
yeah. That's where you have to. It's the strategy, right? Because you're trying to, and this is what we talk about all the time. The strategy for you is like, all right, if I could, because it's a very complex thing that you're trying to solve, right? You're not trying to solve something. Like most people trading, right? I mean, just the masses, right? We'll say 80%. They can't get the basic down, right? And which is just executing the trades and seeing it, piecing it together, putting strategies together, right? And that's where you have all that. You're trying to solve something that is like massive. Like you're trying to go, okay, I can take 100 to 2,000, right? And mentally it's like, so imagine if I could take 10,000, what I would do, right? You're trying to take
Yeah,
10,000 to 2 million. You know what I mean? It's like
I. But that's not gonna happen.
yeah, it's unfathomable. You know what I'm saying?
I gotta, yeah. If I can just do the 200 to I mean, 2,000 is that no, that's more rare. I'll do like 150 to like 750,
Mm-hmm.
like some if the market's favorable.
Yeah, and I
But
mean,
during that bear market, like 2 months or so or 3 months,
mm-hmm.
I was getting wrecked because I wasn't trying to short
Right, right,
enough.
right. You got
And that's
the
when I like
conditions.
that's when I rejoined this group.
Yeah, you got the
Um,
conditions. You got to kind of like you got to remember you can only get what the market gives you. You know, and this is why, and you're not alone. That's what I'm saying. You're not alone in this because everyone got wrecked in the last couple months where I was watching and it was like nobody, if you go in and you watch every fucking creator that's showing people how to chart,
Yep.
they're not explaining the fucking conditions. Like they just don't get it. And that's why I keep trying to
I mean,
say,
did you saw how many people posted their P&Ls of like, I like transparency. I lost 250 grand this month. Like,
Jesus.
I saw so many of those. Um, but so I mean, it doesn't make me
Fuck.
feel that much better, but
Yeah. But
you know,
it's where you know, it's part of understanding you're not broke. You know what I'm saying? You're not the one person fucking this up, right?
okay. Question about, because my knowledge of like how these coins like, or how it works as a whole is like, there's some holes in it, but like, so like, let's say like Piverse or whatever, like over the course of that time, like liquidated an absurd amount of people. Then like, this current pump a result of that money going back into the coin, or is the pump due to just a shit ton of people buying it currently?
Yeah, so okay, so here's what we have, which nobody fucking talks about, right? So you remember back in the day, man. I know you've been following me for. We've been friends on Discord for 3 years. Now sometimes when people join Discord, they'll send a friend request, but I won't accept it or know about it for a year. So I think we've been kind of we might have been in the same thing, maybe even 4 years.
It's like 2021 or 20 ended, yeah, like 2022, like
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. So you remember back? So I used to actually go live and talk about crypto and explain the fundamentals of crypto on an overall, right? That's something I just haven't done in a very long time, and it's just when I watch all these fucking creators and it's like they regurgitate the same dumb shit. They just don't get it. Like, okay, so right now you have this market that's moving, right? The fundamentals of everything we've seen over the last 3 months should have been massive for crypto, right? And everyone's confused. They're all like, they're sitting back and they don't realize what's happening. So go and look at all your favorite creators over the last 3 months, right? Go back 3 months and see who the fuck is understanding that literally 60% of the crypto market has been wiped out. On October 10th,
Yeah.
okay, the people who lost 20, 30, 10, 15 million dollars, those weren't normal people. Those were a shitload of crypto foundation investors, the guys who would buy crazy shit at crazy times and just force projects to move because they've been in since 2017, right? I know a lot of guys that lost 30 plus million. Like they were, I mean, I was just like, when, the conversations were just like, I'm dumbfounded by the stupidity, right? Because it's like, yeah, for real, because it's like, they know me. And, a lot of these guys, I mean, they understand how I trade. And it's like they don't ask, they don't like, and some of them, I mean, like sometimes I have a talk with Carlos, right? And I used to tell Carlos all the time, bro, you cannot do cross fucking trading. Like, I don't care who I know guys with millions of dollars that do cross trading. And I told him last year, I wish I would have recorded that. I said, listen, one day the market is going to have a glitch and there'll be such a massive drop that even if you had 20 million, you'll lose it all. Now,
Yep.
I had this convo with Carlos over a year ago. I said it's just fundamentally stupid. Like I get it. Like you're in a trade for 2,000 and you've got 20,000 in the account. So theoretically, you would say to yourself, okay, I can do a 20x here, and eventually I know this is going to reverse. And I'm just like, you're basically saying you're okay with losing 20 grand. I'm like, you cannot do that shit. And I told him, I said, man, you will get fucked. And I don't care how many times you survive it and how many times you say, man, that's like playing Russian roulette. And because every time you spin it, you don't hit the bullet, that one day you ain't gonna hit the bullet. Like this
Yeah.
is all
So like,
mathematics,
but
right?
some of these like, so as part of what you're saying, like some of these pumps for like 100%, 200, whatever, like all these coins moving like crazy, partially due to cross leverage or cross margins. Like people trying to short it and they're on cross, they think they can get away with it, and then there's just like endless liquidity for it to go
Yeah, I mean
and
because
try and reach that liquidation.
yeah, I mean we would be. I mean right now, if you take that fucking massive drop that we had, right? And this is what I'm saying. Like the last, if you go back 3 4 months, nobody's talking about the loss of the traders. We lost a good. I mean, I'm gonna say no matter what, it's probably 40% of the crypto market's traders lost everything they had, right? And I'm not talking like retail. I'm talking about the what we would consider the whales of crypto, right? The people that have moved projects, can put 3 million in a project just because they're bored, right? Because they started off in crypto in 2017, and it was easy to make 10, 15 million over the last 5 years, right? That money's gone, right? And some of those guys,
Yeah,
you
I
seen
know
them,
one of those Solana guys.
yeah.
His son takes lessons from me. He's out, and he's like out. Like he was like on the ground floor of Solana. He said,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're if you replace that money, right? I mean, we're talking shit. Maybe, uh, probably about. I'd probably say about 10 billion, right? And that money's gone. That money would have been flying into Solana, flying into fucking XRP, right? Because that's how you ever remember markets are supposed to move where big money buys the shitload of the projects when they're floored, and then once those projects build, they move to another project, and then you see these random projects go crazy, and it's like the money, the money moves around, Bitcoin, then to altcoin. We haven't had an altcoin season, not because altcoins should have ran, but because their fucking money's gone. The altcoin season, the investors that keep this, the cycles that we normally have are gone and disrupted because 60% of the market is depleted. Like no one, if you haven't heard anyone explaining that, it's just because they don't know what the
yeah,
fuck they're doing. Okay, the shit
yeah,
sometimes when this is I used to get, you remember I used to get on and watch people's videos and then make a video and be like, that would sounds great, but you're totally fucking wrong, right? And telling people how to fucking understand what's happening was like, I had it was interesting, but it's just I just haven't done those videos where it's like, guys, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Like the money's gone, right? We're building again, right? I mean, right now we're building again. The problem is this time around, the money that gets put in here is going to be institutional, right? Which is the one thing we didn't fucking want. Right? You don't
mm-hmm.
want institutional growth being the guys who hold everything because now you're back in that situation. But it's kind of like an interesting thing to where um, we're building again. But the realization is the good thing is that we were only at probably about 1% of the people that are coming into crypto. So now what you're getting is a highly educated investor who's been sitting on the sidelines since 2021 trying to understand crypto, right? So normally it takes a year of education to make a decision. And then what happened is we went into the 2000 pullback and then 2003 and it became more education and then it was like, well, I need clarity, and then that became where 2024 started to build momentum because we actually it went from Bitcoin will never be anything to BlackRock's buying Bitcoin, Michael Saylor's buying Bitcoin, and then everyone who was sitting around goes, maybe I should buy a little right now before this all gets bought up. And they're still making the decision and it's like, all right, now I need a clarity act, right? So there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines right now, wondering which direction crypto's gonna go, right? The reality is it's not going anywhere. I don't. It doesn't matter. The technology, is fundamentally unbeatable, right? At the end of the day, this is way better than the lotto, right? Um, and the market touches the entire world. It's not controlled by, China, United States. This is worldwide, right? Like America doesn't even need to buy Doge because Africa and other countries will buy Doge, right? So there's always going to be revenue here, right? That's why trading in crypto is so lucrative because it doesn't matter what happens. Um, and that's why they were trying to figure out. Remember a couple years ago, the Biden administration was trying to like outlaw VPNs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were trying to figure out, like, literally. I mean, if you didn't realize who was trying to control your life, just look at that fucking group of people there. I mean, they were literally trying to say, we want your VPNs gone. We want your fucking Cash App money. We want, if you make $1 mowing a fucking lawn, we want it. Like, Jesus. I mean, you could just tell who was after your money, and they weren't being like quiet about the shit. So when you see that, you got to realize like, man, what's going on? It's because they need to see everything that happens in this new digital world. They can't stop it, right? It doesn't matter what they do. This technology is too advanced. You can't be like, yeah, all you banks who spend uh, uh, $30 million to $100 million a year, and plus sending money around the world, you're going to have to keep paying the wire fee. No, you just use XRP, right? You're not going to stop this technology. Like this technology is like fucking super advanced, great. I mean, it solves everything. I mean, it could solve fraud. It could solve voter registration. I mean, blockchain could solve all types of shit. And now we're in a position where it's it's on it's literally ETFs are everywhere. They're now what they're really doing. Like I told you guys, 4 or 5 years ago, I said the what they're going to. They don't give a shit what you trade. They just want to make sure that you pay them, and that's why they're fighting over the USDT versus USDC, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about transactions, right? They can't
Right.
they don't it's like they don't want to make it legal until they own the transactions. You see what I'm saying? Imagine if they made crypto super legal and USDT was Tether was the only one doing the transactions. You're talking about Tether made I forgot what they put in their pocket, but it was massive amounts last year. That'll go 100x. You won't be able to stop Tether. Like Tether will make so much money in a year, they'll be bigger than BlackRock, and BlackRock's bigger than 4 or 5 countries.
Yeah.
So imagine that. They don't control Tether, right? They need you to. I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you go to BitNext where we're on, and you go to the section where let's say our spot account. So in our spot account, we don't have USDC anymore.
Mm, yeah, it's hard to. I One of my friends transferred in like, or he had, I don't know, he had to like convert out of USDC, and it was like a whole thing. He had to go like Polygon. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
that's on purpose, right? The crypto world is rejecting Circle,
Yeah.
right? See, they're not saying that because see, Circle wants to be Tether. Every transaction, everything they do, they want to be Tether. They're trying to take Tether out, right? But
Shit. I gotta. This is fascinating. I gotta dip though,
yeah,
but
dip,
someone
man. Go
else is
watch your
gonna
bands.
go. I'll talk to you all later.
Later, brother. But yeah, just so you guys know, like there's a war going on for your fees, right? And Tether is the crypto world is making a decision that they're going to stand behind Tether. So, but that's just crypto shit, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of like if you're fundamentally trying to start a business in crypto, wondering, where you should be heavily invested in crypto, where the money's going to be made in crypto and all that shit. I mean, this is more like investor type shit where um, if you're buying into BlackRock or Circle, you know. But you know what this does for us, you know, it just solidifies that this fucking market is valuable. Right? It's the only thing that you gotta kind of like look at is that the end of the day, this market is valuable, right? It's so valuable that they're fighting over transactions, which is key to everything. Let me see here. Just remind you still have a schedule here. And that is kind of where you know that you're in a good position, right? And you're fundamentally you know you're coming out of a bear market, um, and give me 1 second here. And you're coming off of all these things, but even with all the terrible things that happened and all the shit that happened to crypto, it maintained a very healthy level, and it is responding the way it's supposed to respond right now. What's up, user 695 Rising Star and the things? But we're seeing the resilience of it right now. So you're super early. Plus, I mean, you're in a this is a real. Not only is it a bear market, but it was just a more bearish market because, like I said, the majority of investors that buy crypto and move crypto at a high rate got completely destroyed on that crazy dip. And it's just so you guys know, if you trade with cross, and you know, if you don't know what I'm saying, is when you open your trades, there's a thing on the top. It says isolated or cross, right here. You always make sure that you're on isolated, right? Isolated just means that whatever you invested is what's at risk. It doesn't go into the rest of your account, right? You cannot trade on cross. Um, but kind of where we were at that point was I was thinking about the big investors, the not the major just traders, but just kind of like corporate traders, right? And they have a five a half a percent to 1% stop loss. In reality, they're only doing a 2x or 3x, right? So if we kind of multiply that to where we're doing a 20x, right? That's going to be at least where we'd be living with a 10x or 10 to 15% stop loss, which is something if we're going to be um, trading, especially now with lighter pullbacks. But you should be developing entry positions over anything. The one and only Boots. What up, man? Um, and that's where it's at. So, guys, if you're on TikTok, man, don't forget to share the live. We're kind of looking at XRP right now. And we're looking into Doge right now. So we're just kind of watching the market. So for us, we're going to take a peek here and look over everything that's coming here. So for us, we're just going to look at the bigger time frames, right? Because right now, if you're going to be trading, a lot of people say, what time frames do I trade on? And the realization is right now, or especially in a bear market or something like that, a slower market, you need time frames in the 2, 3, and 4 hour areas because you need, especially if you're doing a long, you're going to want the 4 hour pushing up in your direction because you're going to need that momentum.
Yo, VC, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? Let me see here.
Hey, are you sharing on Discord your screen?
No, it's on TikTok, brother.
Okay, cool. All right, so I got bumped out of here and then go on TikTok.
Yeah, you pull up in there because that's the amount of different PC on there. Yeah, you can hop on TikTok on there.
All right, cool. All right.
So for us guys, what we're looking for here is we're just checking market conditions, and this is where you guys can kind of do a very simple thing, right? It's not that hard to do. You just use Elliott waves, right? Elliott waves. If you don't know how to use Elliott waves, just Google Elliott wave, foundations, and they'll teach you. It's not that hard, right? So we can see here that we have a 4 hour move, right? And normally a move or anything is always going to come out of a consolidation, which is what we had here, which is just a simple area where the coin goes up and down, sideways, right? And then there's a point here where it breaks out for a big move. That big move is called wave one, right? And we can see wave one if we measure from the bottom of wave one, which is right about here, and we measure to the top of wave one, which is right about here, you can see that we have about a 14%, right? You guys know what Elliott waves are? Hit ones in the chat if you know what an Elliott wave is, right? So 14% here, and then we have a 50% pullback, which is this level here, right? So that's kind of where, everything's set up. So if you guys don't know about Elliott waves, like I said, it's not that hard to head over to Google. This is stuff you guys, this is Trading 101. Fundamentally, kind of understanding. So here, Elliott waves, right? Elliott wave theory, what it is, how it works, blah blah blah, right? So there's a lot of things in here that you guys can do your research on. Elliott wave theory, forecast, trading, etc. So let's see here. Let me see. Elliott wave theory. Okay. So what I want here is the AI breakdown, right? So this is where, especially now with AI, it explains everything to you. So this is just the fundamentals, right? Impulse waves, main typical 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4. We just focus on 1, 2, 3 because those are the main ones. 4, 5 are normally going to be your consolidation waves. And then you have ABC, which is corrective waves, right? Which is where it finds its levels of, the next situation it's going to break out, right? Fundamentally, this is what you want to focus on. So Fibonacci ratios, integrated into your Elliott wave, the estimate lengths and retracements providing, right? So for example, wave 2 often retraces 50 to 61% of wave 1, right? So you can see right there. So that's kind of where, when you put that in there and have that in your brain, 50 to 61% is normally wave 2, right? Well, wave 3 is frequently 1.6 times the length of wave 1. So normally the same size as wave 1, and half a bit more, right? So basically all that means is this, right? So if you're looking here, we're going to see XRP make a move of 14%, right? Now the pullback would be 50%, which would be about 7%, up to 60%, which would put it somewhere around here, right? Which means is that we can see a pullback that hits these two levels, and this would be considered basically showing you that Elliott wave number 2 did what it was supposed to do. Now, why is this important, right? So why is Trading 101 important, right? Trading 101 is important so that you understand where you are setting yourself up into a position that allows you to understand market conditions, right? So give me a second here. I'm gonna reset this recording here real quick. All right, guys, welcome in. So what we're going to teach here and understand is the fundamentals between the difference between Trading 101 and what we teach and educate, which is called Trading 102, right? So what that basically is the fundamentals of understanding how to put the two things together, right? So this is just an example here right now, current conditions inside of the market, etc. So here's what you have. Now, normally, Trading 101 is going to put you in a situation where you're using some type of theory, some type of information here. Elliott waves are probably the simplest thing to understand, right? Elliott waves are a very structured system to kind of see the levels of how something moves, right? So it's a wave structure, right? Impulsive waves has 5 waves, and it has 3 waves, ABC, which are basically the smaller waves, and normally these are going to be the consolidation waves. But the basis of it is that wave 1 is and wave 2, right? So wave 1 is your breakout wave, wave 2 is your pullback wave, wave 3 is the wave that most professional traders will trade, or traders that have been taught by the internet or so forth, right? So here's you can kind of understand Fibonacci relationships, right? So the one thing you want to do is understand the basics. And the one thing that's important here, for example, is after wave one happens, which is a big move, wave two often retraces 50 to 60% of wave one. And then wave three is normally, you can see right there, wave three is normally going to be 1.6 times bigger than wave one, right? So this is why if you're a trader learning how to trade, most of the times after Fibonacci's, pullbacks, retracements, most people are looking for what they call a retest, a bounce, etc. is because that retest or that bounce should go back to at least a double top of wave one, and it should go past a 50% more than the wave one production, right? And how that works is here, right? So if you take a look at your XRP, which is currently happening, we've seen this area here, which is called consolidation, right? A breakout would simply be this area here, and what it basically is wave one's breakout. And I'm going to go ahead and take this and turn this into a yellow arrow so you can see the breakout from point A to point B. Once it hits that level, there has to be a pullback, right? So trading 101 is a a pullback, a a reset or whatever, or letting a trade breathe, right? So what it would be here is if we take a measuring tool, right, and we measure to the top of the breakout, and we measure to where the breakout started, which was the bottom of this blue line here, we can see that the whole move is about 14%, 13.78, right? Take that down, and we know it's going to be a 50% pullback to 60% pullback, which is where we get these two levels here, right? Which is simply, I'll put a box here. This is the pullback zone. So we're looking for the coin to do a Elliott wave or a natural retracement of this area, and it would look like something like this would be the area that we would say that it has to pull back to, somewhere here. And once it makes that pullback, there should be a bounce, right? Now, the thing that Trading 101 doesn't teach you is fundamentally these um, systems or head and shoulders, bull flags, bull pennants, and all those things. They don't always work the way they're supposed to because they're most of the time they talk about what this is happening is based on this simple fact is that the market has good conditions, right? Meaning that there is the correct amount of volume to cause something to do a law of average. The law of average is if you did it 10 times in a row, it would give you a cause and an effect that would be equivalent to repeating itself over and over. So you'd have the same fundamental numbers or percentages every single time that it did that. The problem is if you don't understand market conditions, then these basic patterns here in Trading 101 will not repeat. And sometimes instead of stopping in this area here, if it's a weak market, it'll go all the way down to here to retest, right? Or even weaker market, it could go further, okay? But by understanding where it should go, which is here and bounce, you can then determine what type of market condition you're in, which will allow you to see where your patterns or your ideals will work, right? This is why Trading 101 fundamentally doesn't always work for you because 65% of the time it's in the wrong market condition, so it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, right? It doesn't have a law of average, right? Once you're in a market condition, it'll repeat the same pattern over and over and over as long as the market condition is the same. And when I say market condition, what I'm talking about is volume, right? Price action, cash flow, right? So this is why when you guys make decisions, say, man, I've seen this happen a million times, and then you try it and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you end up in a bad situation. This is why we have the course Trading 102, is because what we do is we teach you how to break down these theories and strategies that are out there, and more importantly, reverse engineer them so that you can understand how this entire philosophy works, and then you can understand why it doesn't work sometimes and how you need to do it correctly based on market conditions and correct um, understanding of what you're doing here, right? But before you can do that, you need to understand how Elliott waves work. You need to understand, the ins and outs of the theories and the structures of it, so that when you reverse engineer it, you then understand how to use it, right? Which will allow you to execute it more properly, right? So these are the things in Trading 102 that we teach that will change the way you invest and trade, because once you understand cause and effect and the different reasons for it and how something works, then you'll understand how to change it and use it properly based on market conditions and different things inside the market. So it's a very simple concept, right? And this is something you're not going to hear from anybody else explaining, because the only thing they can do is regurgitate what they hear on the internet, which is there's a head and shoulders, there's a bull pennant, there's a bull flag, there's Elliott wave 1, Elliott wave 2, right? They don't explain how any of it actually works and what needs to be happening in order for it to be more successful and do what it's supposed to do on average, versus the times that it doesn't have the volume or the setup or the proper market structure to actually execute its normal moves, right? Which is literally 60% of the time it won't do what everyone thinks it will do. And that's why retail investors get destroyed, is because you fundamentally do not understand how these things work. And so you just put yourself at risk, right? So Trading 102, which you can find out about at trading102.com, is simply this, right? It's a fundamentally breakdown of how to reverse engineer all the systems that are out there, all the basic concepts of trading, so that when you guys actually go to trade, you will understand what you're doing, right? Versus, just kind of like going based off of what they have taught you, right? This is going to get you in a position where you will be able to go, oh, I know how this works. I know why it works. And now I can understand why it won't work, right? It's not about understanding why it works, it's understanding why it won't work. Think about that for a second. If you understood why Elliott waves don't work sometimes, and you can find the reasons why, how many trades will you not get into in the wrong position that go against your position, right? Right now, everyone teaches you the great things of what's supposed to happen, but no one's teaching you about what happens when it's not set up correctly. And that is the problem. You guys don't need to learn how it works when everything's amazing in a bull market. You need to understand why it works and why it won't work when you need it to. Because if you understand why it won't work, then you won't get into bad trades. So theoretically, if you could eliminate 80% of your bad trades, how good would your portfolio look if you actually understood that? Let that sink in. Get rid of 80% of your bad trades. How much better would you be as an investor? Exactly. So this is why Trading 102 is so important. Reverse engineering the systems so that you can comprehend it allows you to make decisions, because now you're confident, and it removes emotional trading and gives you a systematic trading system that allows you to execute and be successful and build a system on mathematics and systematical movements. So you are no longer an emotional trader, you are an educated machine doing a job, right? You have to teach yourself to do things correctly, right? So that's what we do here, guys. So that's what we teach, guys. So thanks and welcome to everything that we do. Glad that you're here. We appreciate you, and we really are excited about bringing Trading 102 to you guys, right? Good luck, God bless, and we look forward to it.